For many, catching a flight for a summer trip can make you forget about your troubles, but not all problems on the ground disappear at 30,000 feet.
As the opioid epidemic rages on, the need for Narcan, a nasal spray that reverses an overdose, only continues to grow.
The FAA does not require airlines to carry that life-saving medication, something passengers on a recent flight to Florida found out as a man was overdosing.
Tonight, I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern bringing us exclusive interviews with those passengers who helped save that man's life and are now pushing for Narcan to be on board every flight.
We were like an hour into the flight, and then, out of nowhere, I just hear my father, Drew. Then I see him, getting this young man into the aisle. He looked, unresponsive, so I hopped over, like I said, I was in the window, so I hopped over to two guys I was sitting next to, and just went right to it.
Josh Lazarus was on that same Baltimore to West Palm Beach flight.
I hear a bang, and there is a man on top of another man, and he's performing life-saving measures at my feet. Looking at the man as he's blue. So I'm like, who's he traveling with?
He had a friend on the flight who had told us, he had problems with relapsing.
Immediately, I knew he was overdosed. I've been in recovery for 18 years now, and unfortunately, I've seen this happen and people not make it. So
I was, asking the stewardess, Narcan, naloxone, they didn't have any.
The only thing I knew what to do was I jumped up and I ran from where I was at to the front of the cabin, and I said, does anybody here have Narcan? The reaction from the passengers was like, what the hell is the guy with the tattoos talking about?
The nasal spray, Narcan, or the generic naloxone, can reverse an opioid overdose and save a life.
So at this point, my father and I realized that, his breathing was very slow. Luckily, they had a BVM.
A bag valve mask.
You squeeze oxygen into the lungs.
For 45 minutes, Drew Ashley and his father, along with two passengers who were nurses, worked to save the man's life. The Ashleys knew what to do because this is what they do. Their company, the Life Saviors.
We're a CPR, AED, first aid certification company. Every 6 seconds, I would, count out loud 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, etc. On the sixth, we would give a breath.
To me, this is divine intervention. It'll change the way I look at things for the rest of my life.
It had to be God's work. The young man was sitting right next to my father. Like I said, there was a row right behind him.
What was the reaction from people who were actually working for Southwest, any of the staff and crew that were on the flight?
They were kind of in shock.
They weren't prepared at all to deal with the situation, and that's what terrifies me the most.
The flight made an emergency landing in Orlando.
They ripped the man out of the plane. They administered Narcan twice, right there on the spot.
Definitely want to give thanks to those EMTs who came and helped, who had the Narcan available.
Ashley has stayed in contact with the passenger who overdosed. He's 27 years old.
About 48 hours later, when he had called us, to give thanks, and we're hearing his voice, and at that point, all the emotions set in, brought tears to my father's eyes. Thankfully, we were there to, resuscitate him, keep him alive, so, he can get the help that he needs.
Southwest confirmed the passenger was transported to a local hospital and commended those who assisted in flight. Though it is unclear how many passengers have overdosed on a flight, the CDC reports in 2022, nearly 110,000 people died in the U.S. from a drug overdose. Enough people to fill every seat on 2 Southwest flights every day for a year.
We represent flight attendants at 19 airlines across the country.
Taylor Garland, spokesperson for the Association of Flight Attendants, says for more than 5 years, the union has called on the FAA to require that emergency medical kits include naloxone, saying passenger medical emergencies have and will continue to include opioid overdoses.
We always want to make sure that we have all the tools available to save or help a person's life when we're up in the air at 35,000 feet and don't have many options to call for help.
The FAA has recommended, but not required, that airlines include naloxone in emergency medical kits. The result? Some airlines carry it, many don't, like Southwest. In a statement, the airline told us we comply with all required medical equipment on board. Meanwhile, United confirms Narcan is stocked. Ashley says before they flew home, his family picked up Narcan.
just to have it with us, because again, you just never know.
And Lazarus plans to get trained through Ashley's company.
This is what I'm going to do because I don't know how else to make this right. I'll never travel again without Narcan.
We have a link to free naloxone providers on our website, abcactionnews.com, where you can search by county. Narcan is also available over the counter. Tonight at 11, you'll hear from lawmakers pushing Congress for Narcan on flights. In Tampa, I'm I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern, taking action for you.